I'm in Belgrade at Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Congress. This annual event has been a source of new knowledge in modern therapy for me for over 10 years, as a source of inspiration through contact with world-class specialists. This time I had the honor of presenting masterclass for therapists on treatment of OCD related to sexual orientation. In this video, I'll give you a summary of key points from this masterclass and describe the central thinking patterns that make this type of obsession particularly distressing, driving people into the compulsion cycle until complete exhaustion.
Sexual orientation OCD is a fairly common form of obsessive thoughts that can make you doubt both the direction of your attraction and your self-identification regarding gender. Typical intrusive thoughts are often focused on the future, such as, what if I become gay due to looking at men too much? They also target the past and present. Maybe I am already gay and have just never admitted it. In response to these doubts, you may feel compelled to repeatedly check yourself endlessly, running online tests on your sexual orientation, analyzing your emotional and bodily reactions when looking at people of the same sex, and so on. Unlike genuine homosexuality, in OCD there is no obvious attraction to people of the same sex, and the prospect of intimacy with someone evokes feeling of repulsion and fear. If I were able to put your obsessions on pause and ask whether you are a gay or lesbian, you would most probably immediately answer, "Of course I'm not." This paradox arises because OCD exploits certain vulnerabilities in your thinking. Now, let's break these down one by one. The first vulnerability is thought-action fusion. This manifests in the idea that thoughts, due to their frequency or emotional intensity, can force you to act even on things you don't want to do. If I keep thinking about this, I'll snap, lose control, do something terrible, and never be the same again. This is a typical form of coercion from OCD. It is also the basis for harm obsessions, where you might be afraid of lashing out and stabbing someone you love just as a result of repugnant violent thoughts. But this cognitive error can be easily disproved through an experiment. Try thinking about intentionally throwing your phone against the wall and smashing it. Think about it for half an hour every day. Imagine that you actually want to do it. How long do you think it will take before you act on these thoughts? I invite you to test it, but I believe your phone will remain intact. The fact is, thoughts cannot change our values, desires, and moral standards, no matter how frequently they flood our mind. The next vulnerability is intolerance of uncertainty. In a relaxed state, we are able to shelve certain life questions, including important ones, without an immediate, precise answer. Will you be expelled from university next year? Will there be another pandemic? Will your marriage remain stable? These are all significant topics for which we don't have exact answers, and yet we can live relatively well despite this. Nevertheless, OCD demands rock-solid certainty. I must be 100% sure that I'm not gay. Intolerance of uncertainty narrows your focus entirely to one topic, finding your true orientation. The trap is that the level of certainty that is realistically attainable will never be enough to satiate OCD. You may feel like you just need to check one more time and then you will get the desired peace of mind, but no answer will ever be sufficient. Checking only leads to more checking. The only way out of this hole is to stop trying to answer these questions meaningfully. For a while, any questions you have about sexual attraction should be shelved and quarantined. The tricky thing about OCD is that it will disguise itself as useful thoughts or important questions that absolutely need to be addressed right now. Yet, you have to recognize that if you are in an acute state of sexual orientation OCD, any thoughts about attraction will almost certainly be infected and placed against an obsessive backdrop. Therefore, I recommend not getting involved in the content of these thoughts. Instead, observe them from a distance and label any thoughts about orientation in your mind. Here is how it works. Suppose you start thinking, how does a man normally evaluate the appearance of other men? If If he is not gay, can he recognize that another man is attractive? At that moment, you should tell yourself, this is a thought about sexuality, I won't engage with it. Or you have a thought, do I feel the same level of attraction to my girlfriend as I did before? You should respond to this thought the same way. This is a thought about sexuality, I won't try to resolve these questions anymore. Then shift your focus to the tasks you have planned for the day. It's helpful to remain in uncertainty. You can view it in this way. Your tolerance to uncertainty is like a muscle that isn't well trained yet. If the weakness of specific muscles in the body leads to instability, then we should train those muscles in the gym. The same applies to uncertainty. To become stronger and not to lose emotional balance when hit by destabilizing doubts, we need to build resilience to uncertainty. Therefore, it's useful to view every uneasy situation as an opportunity, like training with a piece of workout equipment through which you can become stronger and better prepared to resist obsessions. Another phenomenon I want to discuss in the context of this topic is non-concordance. If you have ever suffered from sexual obsessions or are currently struggling with them, you are probably well aware that OCD often forces you to focus on what is happening in your nether regions. Any slight swelling of the penis or even a small amount of vaginal lubrication can be interpreted as signs of arousal. Yet, there is a natural difference in how the body responds to sexually relevant stimuli and how the same stimuli are perceived by our conscious mind. This has been demonstrated in experiments. Participants were presented videos showcasing various erotic content, asked to rate how arousing they found it. They were given a joystick with the help of which they indicated how sexually attractive the video content was. All the while, a special device measured the blood flow in their genitals to assess the level of their bodily response. It turned out that in men, the match between physical and emotional responses from the videos occurred in 50% of the time. For women, the same occurred with only 10% of the videos. Both heterosexual men and women to some degree responded physically to homosexual content. Furthermore, a small but significant number of people exhibited a physical reaction not only to human pornography, but also in response to videos of monkeys mating. This indicates that we are not responsible for how our bodies react to sexually relevant stimuli. We cannot and should not control it. The only thing we can control is our actions. We make decisions about how to behave based not only nor primarily on what is happening in our genitalia. Rather, our behavior is determined by our moral standards, values, goals, and desires. In conclusion, I would like to say a few words about the possible deeper causes of sexual orientation OCD. In my view, sexual orientation frequently turns out to be merely a symbolic reflection of a deeper internal conflict, a conflict between extremely high self-demands and the natural imperfections of the human personality. One of my clients, when asked what it would mean for him if he turned out to be bisexual, replied that it would be a sign of his imperfection. For him, perfection meant never making mistakes, being totally independent, demonstrating superiority, earning everyone's respect, being smarter and physically stronger than others, and never being afraid. The young man demanded no less from himself than to be a hero from the ancient Greek myths such as Heracles. And to no surprise, such rigid standards turned out to be highly vulnerable to intrusive thoughts, which in a matter of days ruined his self-esteem when he was afflicted by OCD. This demand for hyper-masculinity, which I see in many clients, particularly in this young man, often arises as a result of rejection and bullying by peers during adolescence. Such experiences can create a sense of insecurity and vulnerability, which, when combined with other predisposing factors, eventually manifest as obsessive fears. This was a small portion of information about sexual orientation OCD. In the upcoming videos, I will cover other cognitive biases related to this subtype of the disorder. Stay tuned!